So, I had a very interesting, and they all seem to be interesting for the most part. Actually, let me wind that back a second, because I did DMT probably about 4 or 5 times yesterday, either in the form of changa or just DMT, and it's not the same DMT I used to get, which was just like pure white, or as I like to call it, macaroni DMT, where it was orange and white, and it was just like such a smooth ride. And now this stuff is like pure orange, which means not as pure. Or well, I mean it's just like straight up orange, like the same color as the fruit orange, pretty much. Maybe a little darker, but it's a little bit of a rougher ride, I find, especially going in, but it smokes super easily, or it's vapes super easily, in the bulb pipe, so I can take one hit very easily. And I remember the first few times I did it, I didn't remember what happened. It's weird. I found like I almost built like a camaraderie with the other DMT that I had, because I had these like big vials of it, and I was doing it for a long time, and so it's like I made an attachment to it. Now, just as to what I was saying about it always being interesting. Out of the majority of times I did it yesterday, there was maybe 2 that were like fairly interesting, but one that is definitely a neck above the rest. There was one where I encountered this entity I've encountered before. I call her a spider woman, not because she looks like a spider, but because she looks like spider webs, and she's made out of spider webs, and she has sort of a vague anthropomorphic form, but she'll be like leaping around and kind of looking at me, and like I can feel that she's feminine in nature, but she's like seems very skeptical of me, and it takes a while for her to like just stop jumping around and like actually examining me, and to get to the point where it's like, oh, okay, you're a passive observer, you seem to have love and respect in your intentions, so I'll give you the light of day. That was the one cool one, but the other one was far more interesting in terms of the content, and not that I actually, and this was one of those hyperspace experiences where I was just so enraptured by the dialogue that was going on that I actually don't really remember a whole lot about the visuals, except kind of going into a city-like scape, and encountering these entities that are very much like what I call the feathered ones, which I think I mentioned before in one of my videos, or they got me to make peace with one of with the tribe that was once associated with them, but these were different. They had a similar kind of warmth, but they weren't the same. They didn't look like owls and crows and stuff. It was just that same kind of black and red sort of hue, that color scheme, which is a very common color scheme for me, I find, when I do it. But yeah, I was just like, for the most part, I was just so engrossed in what we were discussing that, I just wasn't really paying attention much to the visuals. But what we were discussing was quite interesting. It was like, it was telling me, again, not out loud, but through kind of these symbols and stuff, that it was regurgitating, and projecting whatever that seemed like that they were just placing these words, sentiments, ideas in my head, and it was talking about how that we could potentially solve a lot of the housing crises are going on by making use of all the refurbishing and making use of all the, in the West, underground tunnels, because there are like so many just widely spanning, sprawling underground tunnels that were just sort of made and abandoned in both Canada and the States. And also by learning to live underground, we might be able to develop a bit more of an appreciation for what's above ground and learn to limit the amount of detrimental behavior that we commit while above ground. And it was saying China, which has all these towns that, like these giant ghost towns that are totally habitable, and they were built basically to say, oh yeah, we built all this stuff for our people and our people are being taken care of, but it was all just a facade. I've seen some pictures and they're kind of creepy. A lot of them have weird motifs, like it's like an extension of a theme park or something. But to be like, okay, let's just start moving people into these areas and expanding these regions, developing these regions, and actually doing something with them. And I found that was very interesting. And yeah, and also we were kind of discussing how, you know, you take it a step further by creating ecosystems within these tunnels, you know, like you know, gardens and stuff like that, or within these ghost towns, and you know, it would actually be, you know, paying back the planet for so much of the life that we drain from it a little bit. Which is, you know, for anyone who's into gardening or whatever, which, you know, I am personally, you get this sense of having animated something, and you have a connection to it, and it's meaningful, and that meaning, it, you know, provides motivation and a reason for elation, enthusiasm, sense of connection in people, and so these are all good things, and I think worthy of pursuit. But it was just, you know, it's just so interesting, because yeah, I mean, you know, I went into it being like, I want to know more about the spiritual and the paranormal, the as above, so below kind of thing. That was like my intention going in. But like so many of the lessons that I've taken away from these crazy mind-blowing DMT trips are that it's showing me something that's just like just in plain sight. It's just obvious, it's easily accessible. You know, just stuff that I realized like afterwards, like, geez, I must really be harebrained. Like, how could I not put two and two together? You know, like when I had that like eternity style trip, or actually a couple of them in a row, and then I've had other ones that are similar where, you know, I'll see like 150,000 images, like just coming out of just the same things, transforming again and again and again into different things. And it was just like, oh yeah, this is us just trying to show you to appreciate just the vastness of the universe and stuff, like, you know, concepts like infinity. It has nothing to do with you know, enlightenment or whatever. It's more oh hey, observe, acknowledge, appreciate what's here. But yeah, with that being said, those are pretty cool experiences. I mean, I don't feel like I'll be doing it as much as I used to, because, like, I mean, if I can, once I get a chance to make my own chonga, then I'll probably be doing it all the time. But like the chonga I've got now has, I think, too much MAOI in it, and so it can give me a headache if I do too much of it. And it would definitely not be something I'd want to mix with, like, you know, another psychedelic, because that would be very dangerous, I would think. You know, I'd imagine. But and as I said, the DMT that I have now, because it's from a different source, it's like, it's not quite the smooth, like, hyper visual ride that I got from the last stuff, which was like, it took me a long time to work up the courage to do the last stuff. I had it sitting around for a while, except for Changa, because Changa is much more easily tolerated by me, I find, and probably by most people, I would think. It's just, a gentler ride, more euphoric, more of a sense of, it's what I imagine. I would describe it as smokable ayahuasca because it's what I imagine, like, just a fraction of, like, a powerful ayahuasca trip to be like. I have broken through it. It has gotten very intense on Changa, but for the most part, it's still, like, more manageable, I find. And, I kind of remember more of it coming out, not being barraged with so much, sort of slowed down. But yeah, like, the DMT now is, I still enjoy doing it, but, like, and it does smoke super well and super easily. Like, the other stuff, the pure stuff, I really had to be careful with it, or I could burn it very easily, I found. But this stuff just boom, and you get the vapor pretty quickly, and all of it too. But it's not that it's stronger. It's just got more kind of just unpleasant body load and intensity, and it's not like as visually appealing and as in depth as the other stuff I find so far, anyways. But mind you, I haven't done super high doses. Like, the most I've probably done is like 35 or 40. I find I don't really need more than 25. If I can get that 25 in one hit, then fucking I'm gone, as long as it's fucking good stuff. But, like, as I said, with the only other time I've blacked out on DMT was the first time I broke through, and it wasn't a full on blackout. I remember bits and pieces, but, like, this was just like, okay, vapor goes boom, inhale it, holding it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just, it's like 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, the hell? I'm sober again. What? So, yeah, I probably won't be doing as much of it as I used to, but, I've actually dialed back a lot of my psychedelic use quite a bit, I find. I did do a Nexus flip last Saturday, and, just had to be around a really obnoxious fucking person the entire time, which, since it was 2CB, didn't bother me that much. But that's part and parcel of why I don't go to, like, house parties and shit on psychedelics for the most part. But at the same time, I don't drink, so, there's not a lot of, like, euphoric shit I can do at house parties that'll get me on the same level that everyone else is on. GHB, cocaine, ketamine, I've got such a high tolerance for now that it probably wouldn't do much of anything that, and I'm not, contrary to what people have said about me in the past, I don't shoot up at parties, even if it's an intramuscular thing. I'm not going to do that. That's just not a smart idea. Or in front of other people in general. Like, if I'm going to do muscle or ketamine, I go to my friends, I don't do this in front of other people, because I think it was my ex doing it in front of me all the time who normalized me to it and made needles, no big deal to me when I started finally using them. So I don't want to have that, splashback effect on other people. Yeah, like, and I also, since I'm on a benzo taper, I don't really want to mix GHB too much, because I think that could be very dangerous, even if I deliberately eschew from, like, taking the benzos for a little while. The Valium, which I'm prescribed, like, it's just downer and a downer is, the easiest way to fucking overdose. It's, pretty, like, well established, and, MDMA, like, I only fuck with, like really, really pure MDMA, so it's, like, super smooth and not, like, so I'm like, and because of my ADD, I'm just chilled the fuck out, not like, oh fucking I love you bro, I love you man, you know, fucking we know each other so long, just like, you know, what people stereotypically do on ecstasy. And then cocaine, I mean, for one, it's super expensive. For two, it doesn't last very long. And for three, it's just not that great of a drug. It's like an ego booster, if anything. I think the only reason people do it is because of the novelty, the allure of doing something that is like coming from a finite resource, pretty much, and that is thought to be associated with the elite, you know, because it used to be judges and pilots and lawyers who would do it back in the day. But, you know, cocaine isn't what it used to be back in the day. And it also is just, you know, terrible for the areas that are, you know, where it's indigenous to. It's absolutely devastating, the effects it has on Colombia, and, you know, it's also just the crime that centered or sources from cocaine manufacturing, you know, smuggling, distribution, use, so on and so forth. And plus, like, you know, even though I've, you know, not had the urge to inject cocaine, because that's what I used to do back when I was a heroin addict, and it's like the most disgusting, like, cracked out fucking, well, it's like more intense than crack. It's like 100 times the intensity of crack or something. I mean, I've only smoked crack like twice when I was an addict, and it just was like, oh, this is gross. Oh, I feel like fiendy, and just I want to take a shower, like, ugh. But like injecting cocaine would last like 5 minutes, and your ears would go wee, and you just want to do more and more and more, and your heart's going boom, 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 boom. Like, you know, I've noticed that, like, when I buy it and I'm doing lines at parties, I'll have thoughts in the back of my head, oh, I could be injecting this, but, you know, I've resisted, and, you know, that's just another reason for me to just not do it, because, you know, I always, even though I consider myself someone who's got a pretty good handle on my addictive tendencies, except for nicotine. I mean, I channel most of my addictive tendencies into nicotine, which is, you know, it's not wholly successful, but it partially helps, I think. I always think of Philip Seymour Hoffman and be like, you know what, he had like 25 years or something, whatever, of being completely clean, and then boom, just relapse like that, was dead within 2 weeks. I see that as something that could always happen to me. And yes, you can make the argument that I use, you know, ketamine to the point of being like addictive, but, you know, like right now I'm breaking from it, and like, I don't do it because I enjoy it a whole fucking bunch. It can be cool, more so when mixed with other things. I find it can be kind of boring on its own, unless you fully anesthetize yourself. And, you know, my tolerance has just grown to the point of, like, I just, it seems like I can't even do that unless I use like an expensive amount of it, and also, you know, it's taking its toll on my bladder, you know, the cystitis, stuff like that. So just thought it merited a break. And you know, you should take tolerance breaks on just about anything. Like, I take tolerance breaks on weed every now and then. You know, like, usually they'll just be like a day, because, you know, I'll want to fucking get stoned. I mean, like, stoned is like my normal. It's like I don't even, like, when I am sober, like I've been most of the morning, after just smoking that, like, tiny joint, which, I mean, I don't even feel stoned off of, really. It just, yeah, I mean, I don't feel much different, even if I get fucking super baked, unless I'm on a psychedelic or something. But yeah, in any case, I mean, this video is just supposed to be about those DMT experiences, but I kind of decided to keep the can door open, if you will. Oh god, that is just a really poor choice of words. That's just like an ugly sounding syntax. Candor door. I don't know, just trying to be like open and honest about my thoughts and my life and what I do that are my vices. The worst things about me one could argue, because otherwise I'm not someone who goes out and picks fights or, harasses women or anything like that. And the majority of criticism I get from other people is for drug use, but it's usually other people who are like, fucking, you're just switching one thing for another with psychedelics and blah blah blah. It's like I don't think that people quite understand the contrast between how I use psychedelics and cannabis and ketamine, stuff like that, to drugs like heroin. And now I'm thinking more so than I was, say, like a month ago. Cocaine, methamphetamine, stuff like that. Those are the bad drugs, in my opinion. Those are the stuff that like really don't have a lot of medicinal value. And those psychedelics, ketamine, cannabis stuff I use more so for medicinal value than recreational. Recreational motivation is pretty close to the motivation for getting those medicinal values, but those medicinal values are like, I cannot seem to convey to people that like it is imperative in my life because of my brain's inability to have just regular serotonin cycles and make me super depressed and give me chronic pain 10 ways to Sunday. People don't get that, and how effective psychedelics are, and how nothing else is really effective, except for expression, like writing, playing guitar, stuff like that. I get natural highs from working out, and sometimes I enjoy just taking my cat for a walk around the neighborhood. That's always nice. I usually got doobie when I'm doing that, but as I said, weed doesn't seem to make me feel inebriated or intoxicated, and I just go, hey, I appreciate this. But yeah, in any case, I'll leave it at that. Bye-bye.